Hello. Woohoo. Live again. How is everyone doing? Uh, I am feeling all sorts of interestingness from my little one in my belly right now. You can't see me. Actually, can't look like I do have clothing on. I'm not sure if that looks clear on camera, but I do. My hair is just in the way. But I am preggers and living my best life with little one inside, and it is fan freaking tastic, guys. Oh my goodness. Gender reveal coming in the upcoming weeks. I know people are like, what are you having? What are you having? Time and time, guys. But I think we'll get it kicked off. This probably won't be too long of a conversation because we're talking about this book, Life and Death, for the first book club of the year. And sadly, I do not have that many great things to share, but I do have a deck for you. So we will go through the content. You'll have my thoughts. We'll talk about it. Guys, I'm here using StreamYard. So you see me here on Facebook, you see me here on YouTube, you see me here on Periscope. Feel free to put in your comments. I believe I can see most comments, and anything that comes to mind later, always feel free to hop on and share later. Okay, so again, what are we talking about? We're talking about Life and Death by Stephenie Meyer, the originator of the Twilight series. Who the heck am I? I'm Natasha Nurse. I am a coach, a content creator, a speaker, preggers. Oh my goodness, creating life as we speak. Yeah, really talented. Yeah, I know. Thank you. So super silly, super fun, super engaging. This will be another fun conversation. So put your thoughts in the comments. Join me along as we talk about Life and Death by Stephenie Meyer. Yes, that's a Target 20% off sticker. Don't judge me. I like deals. Thank you. And let's get to the content. All right. So now you will see my slideshow and then we'll get through that. But again, comments, guys, so that I feel like you're here with me. All right. So January book club meeting, Life and Death by Stephenie Meyer. First and foremost, before getting into the book, why do I do a book club? So I'm a strong, avid reader. I've been reading all my life. My father had me read like Romeo and Juliet at 6. And obviously, as someone who grew up in England, he loved the Dickens. And so I've read that stuff, read, Lord of the Rings series, The Hobbit. The Hobbit's my favorite book. Yes, I am that nerd. Yes, thank you. And proud of it. And so for me, I just always really want to emphasize the idea and the importance of reading, not just for myself, my kid on the way, but anyone who is looking to be whoever you want to be in this world. Whatever evolution journey you're on, reading is definitely a part of it. Now, does it have to be physical reading? No, it doesn't have to be physical reading, but it definitely has to be something consistent of getting the information from wherever you're reading it to your head. So whether that's audiobooks, whether that's articles, whether that's graphic novels, whatever you're doing, you have to engage in teaching your brain the opportunity to evolve and learn and grow and all of that good jazz, right? So for me, to answer this little statement on the screen, reading is power. Reading is beauty. Reading is imaginative journeys. Reading is evolution. Reading is life. Reading is my mind going places I couldn't even imagine. Reading is comfort. Reading is love. Reading is joy. Reading is peace. Reading is escape. It goes on and on. So I ask you to also think about when someone says, what is reading to you? What does that mean to you? Okay. Next, let me see if there's any thoughts here. Nope, not yet. Okay, good, guys. All right. So here's the book summary. So this is directly from twilightsaga.fandom.com. So if you're a fan of the original Twilight with Edward and Bella, Kristen Stewart, and what's his name, Robert Pattinson, I think so many of us, some people are not fans. I get it. Not everyone has good taste. But for those of us who are fan favorites of the Twilight series, then you definitely remember the immense love and seduction and the mystery that was within that Twilight series book, especially the first one. The dichotomy between understanding Bella's love for Edward and also her bubbling friendship for Jacob, just warmed my heart every time I watch the movie series, every time I read the books. I am just super, super happy. So when I picked this book up from Target, as you saw, I was like, oh, okay. So we're going to reimagine it. We're going to switch things, right? So essentially, if Edward wasn't a guy and if Bella wasn't a girl, and we switched the genders and we switched names, and most of the storyline is reverse kind of things, but we kept some things and changed a little bit. How does it work? Does it still work? It's that's what the next slide is going to be. So let's talk, always start with positive in life, right? We never want to start with a negative. So positively speaking about the book, it was a nice walk down memory lane. For me, Twilight remains to be something that deeply warms my heart. I love it. I don't care what other people say. I love it. Yes, I'm 34 years old and I love Twilight. And I will say that at 98. I do not care. Love that series. And it just, for me, I'm a big passionate lover of love and love stories, and just like, it just moved my heart. So when I picked up the book, I said, wow, this is going to be a nice walk to kind of reimagine what that love story would look like, but switching the rules, right? So there's that. It was an opportunity to support the author as an entrepreneur, as a coach, as a speaker, right? Guys, we love to, I don't know, eat, have lights, have electricity, things like that. Fancy. Yeah, I know. So when you say you love people, when you say you support people, that actually means more than just like, hey, I support them. It's more like, did you buy their book? Did you buy their course? Did you buy into a seminar, conference with them? Like things like that. That's where you put your money where your mouth is, because that is how, like I said, people are able to eat in this world. People are able to send their kids to school. People are able to do things. It's a nice thing, right? We all have at some point in our lives, usually, not, I mean, we can't say all, right? But most of us who are fortunate enough to have discretionary income, it's important to be able to, put a couple of dollars and cents where it matters. And that means supporting the content you consume. All right. So I definitely wanted to buy the book and support Stephenie Meyer. Now, I don't recall reading a love story where they switched the roles like how she did in Life and Death. And so I thought, wow, this is going to be a new approach to a love story. Instead of the male role being male, it's now female, and female being male. How does that work? Does it still work, right? So think of like Titanic and Jack and Rose. What if Rose was Jack and Jack was Rose? Does it still work? So this leads into the conversation of cons, right? So we started with the positive, right? We started with the positive. Now we have to get to the negative. Okay, guys. So unfortunately, I have to say, creatively, it was not superior to the original book or the original series. I wasn't moved. It was extremely hard to get through this, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. I was telling my husband, like, Khalil, like, this is really frustrating. I'm really upset. Like, so for me, when I read a book, it's kind of like a friend who, if I don't like it, it feels like a friend's betrayal. That's how serious and that's how nerdy I am as a person. So for me, I was just like floored at the lack of creative innovation that happened when you switch the script. So that's how I felt. All right. That's not a stance on all books. That is not a stance on if you flip the script, that's how it works. But for this scenario, the original Twilight book versus Life and Death didn't work for me. It was not emotionally captivating. I think there's something about, and maybe that's, either my personal I guess perspective on when I look at love. Normally it is a stance of a woman falling in love with a man. Does it always have to be that way? No. Can I fall in love with a story where the man is falling in love with the woman? Absolutely. But most of the love stories that is in media or that is in books is from that female perspective, falling in love with the man and his mystery and his intrigue. And so there's something extremely emotionally captivating about that when it goes that direction. And then when you flip it, it didn't work here for me. It just really didn't. So there's that. And ultimately, that last sentence right there, guys, flipping the script doesn't work here. For me, though, I just want to preface, this is my thoughts. I am not the arbiter on all books and all love stories. Okay. So you can't be like, well, Tosh said, I'll get to that in the program, later in the program. Don't jump the slides. Now, what I did want to share is, just as a writer, I've written a couple of books right now, and working on finishing another book that I'm getting published, and many more to come in my life, God willing. And so what I call book magic principles, if you are an author, if you are thinking about writing a book, these are things that I would offer to you as something, especially from the narrative perspective of a fiction story. And granted, most of the books I've yet to have published a fiction book. I've written stories and stuff like that, but I haven't published a fiction book. And part of it is because of some of these questions that you see here on the slide. So, is the storyline interesting? That seems like it would be obvious. Like, Tosh, really? Like, this is the question you're asking? Yeah, I am asking it because sometimes what we think is interesting in our minds is not interesting to our audience. And so we have to really capture. And that's why when you're writing a book, it's really important to understand who is your audience, because you need to make sure that you're connecting with that person, that reader. You're not buying your books, right? You're not buying a million copies of your own books. You're asking or hoping for the world to receive your book and can't get enough of it. But what exactly can they not get enough of? What exactly is moving them? So in the original Twilight book, the fact that Bella was a human, the fact that Edward was this old vampire over 100 years old, like 118, something like that, and at the time, and he was completely tortured about some of the past actions he had done. I don't want to give away too much, just in case for those who've not read Twilight, that there's still some intrigue there for them, and there was something extremely interesting about that torturedness about him. Also, how he sparkled in the sunlight. That's why they were in Forks, Washington, where it was cloudy and rainy all the time, so people couldn't see what their skin looked like. He was in a family of vampires that didn't do the normal vampire behavior of going and feeding on people, but they were vegetarian in nature, right? They were feeding off the blood of animals, which is not vegetarian, but you get the drift when thinking about it from a human perspective. And then, the involvement of her, this human naive girl, into this vampire world. What does that mean? How many rules are being broken? Very interesting. Also, her continual pushing her own boundaries and trying to be as fearless as she could be, and him trying to control himself and not get overwhelmed by the need to want to feed off of her, right? That is really interesting. Also, I didn't even mention, which is my favorite part of the storyline in the original Twilight series, which is the friendship between Jacob. I'm a huge fan on girls being friends with guys, because I think that there's something really loving and beautiful that comes from that type of relationship that's different than when a woman is friends with another woman. And there was love there. There was love that was budding, and the guy, Jacob, he, I think, was a bit more infatuated with Bella and wanted it probably to be a bit more, but more to come on that. If you read the series, you'll see how that turned out. But either way, the connection that they build, because they knew each other since they were kids, but she had lived in Phoenix and came back to Forks now. And so what did that friendship start to look like? What was she needing from him, and what was he needing from her? And that was just a really beautiful storyline to observe. So again, right, what am I talking about? I'm talking about all these different elements that are interesting, that are fascinating. And if you just flip the genders and pretty much have the same scenarios happening, is that as interesting? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Now, is the reader emotionally going to be connected to your story? Why is this important? If your reader's not emotionally connected to what you're writing, then why do they have any reason to continue reading? And so that, again, really, Tasha, yes, really, because you get to page 1. Okay. All right. We're starting. Interesting. There's conversation. Okay, cool. Page 2, page 3. Why am I going? This book was like 400 pages. Why am I reading 400 pages of something that I don't find the storyline interesting and I'm not emotionally connected? Exactly. I'm not going to be able to successfully get through that very well. So what is the connection? So in the original Twilight, as you heard me stammering on and on about, going on and on about the love between Bella and Edward. And again, I'm a Team Jacob person. So, which me and my husband always, he's like, no, you should be Team Edward. I'm like, nope, Team Jacob. Have you seen him? He's beautiful, beautiful man. And I think that for me, the emotional connection is, again, friendship. Friendship is really, whenever you do have friends and it's a strong connection, that's something that moves me. And then from a perspective of love, what are you falling in love with a person? What is the brokenness about that person that is quite beautiful and just memorable? So those are things that I think for me emotionally connected me to the story. Did I find connection here? No. What makes the book memorable? So am I going to, as I went on and on about the book, right? There's things about the book, there's lines that I still remember to this day after reading it all those years ago. What exactly about your book, if you're writing it, for instance, that is going to stand out to people? And ultimately, what is the impact you're making on the reader? So for me, the ultimate impact about Twilight was that you could reimagine the idea of vampires. She took pretty much the same concepts that we've all grown up learning. I mean, if you're a fan of like Anne Rice, vampires, right? Like she took it and she, instead of going dark, vampires typically in film and movies and books have been portrayed as these kind of dark demon-like figures. We should fear them. She, in Twilight, made them pretty. She made them intriguing. She made them beautiful. She made them sassy, right? And family oriented, which is very different approach to vampires. So my ultimate impact from the book was the idea that like you can always put a twist on an existing concept. There's how many zombie movies and how many zombie books and how many vampire movies and vampire books out there, and there's still nothing like Twilight. So you can always take an existing idea and switch it. And then also there's nothing like what unrequited love, right? Jacob's love for Bella, Bella's love for Edward, that love triangle. Ugh. I mean, have I been in a love triangle? No, but I find them fascinating in film and content and books. So it's always something that drives the point home. And so those are just some things to think about, especially if you happen to be writing a book. These are questions that I would ask you to really take into consideration, because I felt like the answers to this would, I don't know if Stephenie Meyer thought about that when writing this book, but these are some of the things that I felt like it definitely fell flat on for that. So now, would I recommend reading the book? Again, I started this conversation saying I'm an avid reader. I always recommend reading. I am a nerd. That will stand to the end of time. So because I didn't enjoy this book, would I tell you not to read the book? No, absolutely not. Because my opinion is, again, not the arbiter of life. I'm not, sitting in the sky telling people what books to read and not to read in book heaven. Like that's just not possible, not feasible. I think for me, would I still recommend it? Yes, because my perspective is my perspective. You might pick up the book and be totally in love with it, because for you, maybe the elements that are there was enough for you. Maybe the elements were interesting to you. Maybe you were emotionally connected and it did leave an impact on you. Then bravo for you. So that's ultimately, you'll see this still being recommended on my blog, and you'll still see me doing a whole program about this. Why? Because I still want people to check it out, to support Stephenie Meyer. She has another book, I think, after this. I don't know if I'm going to read it because of kind of how I felt. I'm a little bit salty, right, about this experience. So I'll think about it. I don't think I'll read it. Whatever her newest book, I don't think I'll be hitting that this year, but maybe in the future. So definitely still check out her other books, guys. What's next? Now, do you want to know what we're reading for February? February, Tosh, yes, it's like right around the corner. Yes, I know. But you've got to go to dressingroommate.com. That is my blog. That is where you can learn all about me. That is where you can check out coaching, my services, the blog content, my past clients and what people have said, my press, all of that good stuff, like my whole world there outside of my podcast. So super fun, super exciting. And with that, and so just so you know, at the beginning of every month, on the homepage, you'll see the new kind of image of what the book club reading is going to be. So once February 1st is here, and then you'll be able to, well, actually, I'll probably drop it a little bit before that. So probably by tomorrow, you'll be able to see what the new book is. And so that way you can cop it, you can get it for yourself, and then you can join this wonderful conversation for next month when we meet. And so when are we meeting? dressroommate.com. Where do you have to go? dressroommate.com. That is where you get all the information. That's also where you check out the new content for the blog. And again, stay tuned for all of that good jazz, because there's a newsletter that you can also sign up for. There's just content that's going to just, educate you, make you smile, make you feel warm inside. I mean, can you ask for anything more, really? No. So just in case you don't have this information, go to dressingmate.com. You'll definitely get that. And here's my email address if you're like, I want to talk to you, and here's my phone number, all of that good jazz. So with that, now that I've showed you that, I think we can get back to talking. Woohoo! Hey. So I don't know how you felt about my breakdown of that book. I'm going to show you at the bottom here some information again that I talked about, subscribing to the blog, the newsletter, all of that. But I hope I didn't disappoint people too much. I feel a little bit sad whenever I have to do a book review. Again, what did I review? Life and Death. And it is by Stephenie Meyer, the originator of Twilight, the Twilight series. I feel kind of, again, like it's like a stab in the heart. But if you enjoyed it, please put that in the comments. Let us know, guys. That's it, y'all. It's a little bit early. I know, but I don't necessarily see any comments to address right now. So if anything comes up, feel free to put that later. I'm here on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope. And then with that, then I'm going to say bye, and we're going to see each other for my next live. If you go to dressingmate.com, that's where you will also be able to see my events page. So you'll be able to see when I have events coming up. And it's interesting, y'all, being pregnant and trying to plan things out, because I don't necessarily feel all in control of my life right now, because there's like a little person growing inside of me. Super interesting. Give love to your mothers out there in the world. For people who cared for you, who took care of you. Wowzers. It's interesting, guys. With that, it's been fun. It's been real. We covered Life and Death by Stephenie Meyer. Check it out. Rewatch this if you missed anything. And I'll also do a recap on the blog, so you'll be able to catch us again. Alrighty. I will miss you until we talk again. Have a great, wonderful day. Bye.